Greetings, everyone. Today's guest is branding aficionado Brandt Ricca. Brandt is the owner of the Nora Lee DC brand marketing agency. I'm sure you're going to enjoy today's discussion. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Brandt, it's finally good to meet you. I've been looking at some of your movements online and checking out what Nora Lee does. So, for folks that don't know, who is Nora Lee? What is Nora Lee, and why is Nora Lee? Can you give us a kind of a brief synopsis, explanation of what Nora Lee is?
So Nora Lee was my grandmother, and I'm from Louisiana. And she was a huge Louisiana socialite, and I've never met her. She died in 1980 at 50 years old, just a heart attack. So I grew up knowing of this woman. I always say that I don't feel like she was my grandmother. I feel like she's some like fictional character,
Mhm.
that I learned about, which kind of, when you haven't met someone, that's kind of how it tends to be. And
Indeed.
about 2.5 years ago, I was honestly just toying with the idea of starting a company because I kept being told to do it. And I remember actually sitting at the pool with my friends and being like, what would I call it? And I was like, well, I don't want to call it my name because everyone always mispronounces my name. So it just came to me off the tip of my tongue was Nora Lee. And it just kind of snowballed from there. It wasn't any like grand design, so to speak. But so I called my father and his siblings and I asked their permission, and the logo of the company is her actual signature.
In terms of branding, so people may not know exactly what branding is. I think people have ideas of what they think branding is, but from your perspective, what is branding?
So I actually have this conversation probably every other day with clients. I deem it as like you are your brand. So I feel like whenever you're at a restaurant or the gym or the grocery store, branding is to where when people see you, they know exactly what you do. So when they see you at the gym or the grocery, oh, there's Brandt. He has an events company, or there he is. He has a marketing company. Or so that's the goal. I feel like with branding is to get your face as your brand. I
Ah.
look at Oprah. She's on the cover of every magazine every month of her own magazine. To me, that's branding, is to get recognition of yourself with what you do.
Got it. Understand. So, with that being said, why is it so important?
I think it's important because Nora Lee started off of doing nonprofit work with triple negative breast cancer. And Nora Lee herself was a huge community advocate. So I feel like it's important because through my work with the event world, I've kind of now catered to entrepreneurs, so whether they're new businesses or established businesses. And I think it's important because at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to like, there's that quote that we all have bills to pay and dreams to pursue.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that kind of like ties in with that. And that's why I deem branding important, because it kind of goes hand in hand with like, especially most of my clients being business owners, it's kind of helping someone's dream kind of come to fruition.
Understood. So, at what point should somebody consider branding?
Like with Nora Lee, I was lucky to have branding of myself prior to the company through some stuff I had done, and that got some notoriety. So then with Nora Lee, I just branded the hell out of it. And that's kind of just getting out there. So, so I had like a Nora Lee blog that I started, and then I had Nora Lee ambassadors for the company, and started the Nora Lee Instagram. So I feel like with branding, it's almost like you want to be up in people's faces. So, and to make it consistent, I feel like a lot of times brands don't work out because they start the branding process, you know, eager beaver and super excited, and they don't realize that, it's going to be a long-term journey, because, success is a process. There's no such thing as getting your brand to a certain point and then just like choring that up. You have to keep evolving and keep changing, because we as people are changing, and we as businesses are changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just had this conversation this morning actually with someone. Um, he's also pivoting and going from styling fashion shoots in New York City to wanting to do social media. And I told him, I was like, just prep, like in general, when you start anything new, it's a lot of work. But I think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing if like you would do it for free. Like if you wouldn't do it for, especially starting out, because a lot of people think success happens like this overnight. And in the beginning of your brand, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff for free and a lot of like bartering and things like that. But people, I think if you would do what you're doing at little to no cost and like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, so that down the road you are in for that, payout. And I heard this once and they were like, if you fail, like fail fast and then get back up and keep going. So I was totally even transparent with people who worked with me in the beginning of like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring this out. And I've never done this on my own. And like, I'm not good at the business side sometimes of running a business. So I think the biggest piece of advice I ever got is, when you start something new, whatever you're not good at, bring in people who are good at those things to come in. That way you kind of cover all the bases.
So yeah, I've learned that in my experience, in my limited experience anyway, that when you're hiring people or when you're trying to partner with folks, partner with folks that are smarter than you, so that way they can kind of fill in the gaps. You are good at some things and they're great at some things, and they help fill in those gaps that you're missing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I always say, even on like sets for things, like when you're working with like a videographer, photographer, I'm always like, look, this is what I know I want, but while we're on set, just cover what I said I wanted. And if you have an idea while we're here, go ahead. And I always say, let your creative free flag fly, like, because I know that I don't know everything.
Indeed.
But with that, I think comes a lot of humbling experiences. So where you have to really admit that and say like you're right or this was wrong or own up to any mistakes you've made as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely would agree. So, a relevant question for today. This question wouldn't have been relevant a year from now, but it is definitely relevant today. COVID-19, how has it influenced or affected your creativity? What has it done for you? Or
So when COVID first started, I think like everyone else, I was like scared because it was unknown. And so I did what most people did. Well, I did what I thought I should be done was I actually took a few weeks off to do nothing. Because someone told me they were like, you're never gonna have this opportunity probably again in your life.
Mhm.
I felt like it was in middle school, when we would be on Christmas break and we'd be like up late watching movies and like and then like so I felt like so I did that for a little bit to kind of take advantage and to take some downtime because I also tend to be a workaholic a lot. And so from there then I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? Because events were not coming back. And so I really used the time to refocus. And I was like, what do I love about Nora Lee? What do I not love about Nora Lee? And the events didn't fall in the really love category. So the marketing aspect, which is what clients were mainly, I was doing mainly for clients anyways, which were the creative styled photo shoots and videos and things. So I was like, I love that. Like I'm in the shower and I'm coming up with creative ideas for photo shoots. Like I research them. With the events, it was just like, whatever, that'll do. Um, so I used that time to really brand during the quarantine. So I changed Nora Lee's entire social media page. So I changed it from events to marketing agency. I then made sure I threw out a bunch of content within a very short time of just the marketing service. So I was creating like a gap between the last time you saw events posted and our new stuff posted. So that's what I did. And then somehow a client hired me in the middle of all this. And we really had to use what we had because I didn't have at my disposal photographers or videographers because we were under quarantine.
Mm.
So I literally would meet this client with mask on outside somewhere, and he had a camera, and I was taking the pictures. And so I we like would take pictures on his camera, and then he would send me the things, and I would edit the photos myself in like software app. And from there, another client reached out to me, and then another one reached out, and it's kind of like I felt like that was like some really spiritual and things like that. So I feel like that was kind of like the universe whisper being like, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Ah, gotcha. So let's talk about pivot points. Earlier, you mentioned, because I was going to bring that quote up because I was reading one of your articles and you said that if you fail fast and get back up.
Right.
So, what are your strategies for course correcting when things get a little, I'll say, wonky?
Um, so I when they get wonky, I heard that word by the way. I tend to take a moment. So, like, for example, I think that it's really important as a business owner to have daily practices to kind of keep you rooted to life and to yourself. So I feel like when things are getting super wonky, my thing is I go on a really long run and I just kind of de-stress, but I also meditate every single day. And I also do daily devotionals, and I do Reiki, and I do everything. But for me, it's to kind of, there's something I heard a few years ago. They're talking about whenever you're stuck or kind of all over the place, like forget about it. Go on a
Okay.
walk. Go immerse yourself in a concert. Go listen to some jazz. Go like eat at a great restaurant. Just get lost in the culture of where you are, and then come back to it and revisit. And because
Awesome.
you'll look at it in a different perspective, I think.
What are some things that you wish you knew before you started?
Um, Honestly, I would say nothing because
Hmm.
all of everything I've encountered, every obstacle, every hurdle has really mentally for me affected my confidence in the way I do business now. So I think the only thing I would say to myself would be to relax.
Got it.
Because
Got it.
and I have to tell myself that now a lot too, because I think it's so easy to get overwhelmed by a problem or like your what's in front of your face. And so what I do is I tell myself to just, in the big picture of my life, this is just a moment. So I need to like relax and yeah, there's always that saying of like where your back stop wearing your wishbone where your backbone ought to be.
Ooh. Oh man.
So I would tell myself not just to relax because I think I'm even going through some things now, and I think you have to be open to everything that's happening, even as uncomfortable as it is with owning a business and starting one. Because there's a lot of uncomfortable moments. There's a lot of after the fact, you're like, oh, should I have said that, or should I have done this, that, and the other? And yeah, so I think it's as long as you're aware that it's just a constant curve, a learning curve. I wouldn't tell myself anything because I think everything I've had to figure out on my own has made me be able to be successful and to be pivoting like I have been and all that stuff.
Gotcha. So is that the same advice you'd give to a new business owner trying to find their niches? You'd also tell them to relax, or is there something else that you tell them?
I would say relax and also uh, just be open because I think when you start a business, we all do this. I did this. You start a business with an idea of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had told me it'll be 2 years next week that I purchased the LLC for Norley, it'll be 2 years.
Okay.
And if you had told me 2 years ago that I would be eventually owning a creative marketing agency and I would be in like the media all over the place and whatever, for marketing, not even really events, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have, but I think as long as you're open to the process of what owning a business looks like and to go with the flow of life and not against it, I think that would be what because if you talk to most business owners, most of them are like, "Oh my God, this is not at all where I thought I would be 5 years later." So just everything's a process.
Gotcha. So what about the value of mentors? Do you have any? Do you suggest that a person has one or two or three?
So I went through this actually. I just told this. So one thing that I am now getting better at is that I tend to want everyone's opinion on everything. So I want all my friends' opinions. I want my colleagues' opinions. I go to mentors I have for their opinion. And it wasn't until recently when someone really gave me an opinion that was not a good one. And I really, like, what struck out in my head was just like, oh my God, like, why am I even listening to you? Like, you don't do this for a living. So, like, your advice was appreciated, but I was letting people's opinions affect me too much. So I think once you get better at wanting opinions or advice, but not taking them to heart, because at the end of the day, no one is doing what you're doing. So you have to like also be confident in your decisions.
Okay, I understand. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm thinking about this from the perspective of me as a say a new person that's branching out. How do you know, or how would you tell someone when it's time to either a expand their brand or just change it altogether, just scrap it and start all over again? What would you? How would you do that?
Oh my gosh, I would like. How would I do that, or how would I, or what would I say would be a good time to do that?
Probably, I will start with when would be a good time to do that. We'll start with that one.
I say there is no good time to do
Yeah.
it. I say you just do it as a because like with me, like my pivot, even me starting this company happened so quickly. And one of my good friends always says, she goes, I feel like you decided to start a business and the universe was just like, yep, that's what we're doing. But I consider that like that means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The fact that
Hmm.
I've had the luck that I've had, but really the luck also was, there's that old adage of luck is preparation meeting opportunity. It's
Yep.
because I was like people see the glitz and the glam of my company, but they don't see the hard work that goes into, you know, the nights I'm not sleeping, like waking up super early to like manage everything. And I'm a big fan of all those master classes you see online.
Yep.
And they say when you own a business, you need to know that that's wearing 30 different hats every day. So it's going from like, say, for example, this interview to have a call right after this. I have a call at 4, and then I'm running to some place to like pick out outfits for a photo shoot. Then I'm running to meet this client. And so it's just constantly on the go. And I think as long as you're aware that's what it takes, like that alone tells you there's no good time to rebrand. So if that's your every day, I think you just do it. I'm a big mental person, even with fitness or whatever. It's just like if this was easy, everyone would be doing it.
I
So
agree.
yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, because it's nerve wracking. Some days frustrating because, like you said, you kind of you have to make the decision to jump and stick the landing. That's what I say that one. You got to make that decision to jump or stay in that same position and everybody else is moving ahead. And it's not necessarily a competition in that sense, but I mean, it's more like just you could be doing something and doing nothing is not helping you build your brand or it's not helping you as a person either. My experience.
Well, yeah, and you have to also have, I think, a thick skin with this because you're gonna have people in your life, like friends, especially who don't understand what you're doing and who aren't in maybe the creative realm either, that you do get some like maybe pushback or some comments or whatnot. And I tend to just be like it's almost like an exercise, a mental exercise. Every time you do
Mm.
something that you're kind of not comfortable with work or you're second guessing, you just do it. And even if you fail, like I said, fail fast. And I'm like, okay, well, I tried that. That sucked. what's next?
Right. So, how do we keep up with all things Nora Lee on social media?
So you just go to our Instagram at Nora Lee, NORALEE DC, and that's where you'll see all the fun things we're doing. We have videos on there. We have links to everything we're doing, and all the partnerships and clients that we're working with. I also have a division also called Styled RVA in Richmond, which has its own Instagram. And so
Wow. Okay. Wow.
all over the
Didn't know that.
yeah.
So you're moving and grooving, and I love it. That's awesome, Brand. I appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time and sharing with us your wisdom and your perspectives on business and branding. And hopefully, we'll be seeing more of each other. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, definitely appreciate it. And again, I love you guys. You and like uh, Voices of Services, like amazing.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we have some new music coming out. Shameless plug.
I'm actually gonna be launching a podcast also, so yeah,
Ooh,
I can have you as a guest on that.
awesome. I'd appreciate it. That's going to be great.
It's gonna be the C Squared podcast, Creative Capital, and so
Gotcha.
that will be shot every week and it'll be on Apple and Spotify.
All right. Hey, I'm there. You invite me. I'm there, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Well, no, again, I appreciate everything. This was great. This is fun.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Thank you so much.
What is Nora Lee?
You mean, who is Nora Lee? And that's the $1,000,000 question I get asked just about every single day. Nora Lee was my grandmother. She was a huge community advocate, a business owner, a creative woman who had style and grace, and she did all of this while having a big family. I named the company after her because her qualities are things that we bring to the table with all of our clients who have branding needs, and we help them achieve those through creative styled shoots that are noticeable, stylish, and a showcase of who they are. You know, I'm always telling my team to let their creative freak flag fly. There's nothing too far stretched or out there. If you want to build a big gumball machine made out of balloons as a prop, sure, let's do it. If you want to have 20 people in 10-degree weather stand on a monument for that shot, done. I was told once by someone that every story has value. And at Nora Lee by Brandt Ricca, it's our job to help you tell it.
Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate Brand and his ability to capture the essence of branding and making people's dreams come true. One thing he said that bears repeating is fail fast and get back up. I mean, really, the only shame in failing is not learning from your mistakes and not getting back up. So, striving to get better is the getting back up part of the equation. With that, I thank you for hanging out with us. And I also want to say, I hope you learned a few things. And thanks again, Brent, for your time. Peace out, everybody, and blessings to you.